Show my love for you.
Welcome to Marriage Mondays, where we talk about all things marriage and, of course, most importantly, family. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in and listening. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you. This is Marriage Mondays.
Can I show my love?
Hi guys, welcome back to Marriage Mondays. And on today's episode, this is Debunking Marriage Myths Part 2. So if you want to hear what we have to say, I'm out of breath, as always, because I've been sitting up. Then keep on watching. Hey, babe.
What up,
We had a eventful week, but we're pressing on and we're pushing through and hopefully obeying God and doing His will. But we last left off debunking marriage myths the last Marriage Monday, and I just want to make sure because we kind of talked more about abuse victims more so than debunking marriage myths. So I just want to do a part 2 to make sure we get the proper message out. Okay, that we need to get out. So do you want to go first or you want me to?
Oh no, you can go first.
I go first. So what I wanted to say last episode was one of the marriage myth is you can get a divorce if y'all aren't seeing eye to eye, if y'all are arguing a lot, if y'all don't have good communication. I just want to iterate that no, that's a myth. You know, it's a lot going on right now about what isn't serving you anymore and protecting my mental health. But what if you need to go through this so that you can have perseverance and endure and to actually help others? Because that's what our role is here, is to help others through a rocky time in someone else's marriage. So what if God put that on y'all so that you could tell other people how to get through it? So that is one marriage myth that I wanted to get out last video, is that you shouldn't get a divorce or in any relationship just because y'all aren't seeing eye to eye. And just because y'all are arguing a lot and can't communicate and all we do is argue and fuss and fight. Okay, well, figure it out. Fix it. And how do you figure that out? You go to God and you ask Him how to figure that out. But yeah, I think we all should stick through tough times, stick through hurt, stick through pain sometimes so that we can show others, oh, I went through that exact same thing. This is how I got through.
Yeah, I think we touched on the last video, but I think that just comes down to probably one of the biggest myths that is out there, and that's the idea or the notion that when you get married, everything just magically is fixed, or all your issues just magically go away, or whatever, hang-ups or reservations you had about your, spouse before you get married, like they just go away. And that's not the case. Just because you may feel, obviously, like, I hope anyway that you feel like you might want to spend the rest of your life with this person in some capacity, at least. it don't mean that everything just is gonna magically go away once you go and stand in front of the altar or wherever you choose to go and get married. It doesn't, that doesn't fix everything. So
Right.
I think, like I said, and I don't know where people, I don't know why people think it, I don't know where people get it from, but there are people out there that feels like, well, when we got married, everything, you're supposed to get your stuff together. Like, bro, like that, I mean, who said? Like, it wasn't, like, that was never the case. It's an assumption, more than likely from, I ain't gonna say it would be, it's necessarily one party, because it could be both parties, because I think we touched on the last video, you can assume that your spouse knows what you're thinking, because y'all are in love and y'all are one and all that good stuff, and it may be times where they do know what you're thinking, because y'all do have that connection, but not all the time. It's not 100% of the time your spouse, which is ironically another myth. Like, some people think their spouse thinks that knows what they're thinking all the time. Like, and that's just crazy. Like, because your spouse may not know what's going through your head at a specific time, or how you're feeling at a specific time, because of maybe the type of day you had, maybe the conversations that you've had, maybe it could be anything that they're just not privy to because you haven't told them. And so how are they gonna know that that's what's on your mind? It may have, and people will say, well, we talked about this before, but how would anybody know that that's on your mind currently? Just because you had this conversation 2 years ago, that don't mean that they know that that's what's on your mind right now, because it very well could be, to your point about protecting your peace and protecting your mental health and all of that. If you need and I had to kind of learn that. I ain't gonna say the hard way, but kind of had to learn it.
Best way to learn.
As far as needing time to think about things and process things and cool down and all that stuff. And it, for me, I feel like when it's somebody that you really care about, somebody that you say you love, especially if it's a spouse, it shouldn't take that long. But then what is that long for you? It may not be the same for me, but I think it should definitely be a reasonable amount of time, but you might need some time to just process things. It may be a day. It may be a day. It may be a few hours. It shouldn't be years. It shouldn't even be months. It really shouldn't even be days, in my opinion. But it may be a day, it may be a few hours, it may be a couple days at the most. You process maybe some things that happen. Once you process them, you talk them through, and then you move from there. But that's kind of that the marriage fix everything. That's just not true.
I love what you said about I didn't even think about that. I know what you're thinking about at all times. That kind of goes back with oh, well, you're supposed to be one flesh, and yeah, you become one flesh. And in the eyes of God, it's a covenant that you made with you and your spouse. It's a covenant before God, so God has to honor that covenant. So y'all are one. So whatever you do is going to affect the other. That's what that means. Just in case somebody out there was trying to be smart, it's like, well, you're supposed to be one person. But yeah, that is a really, really good one. Like, I had to learn, like, okay, I have to communicate properly what is on my mind. and what I'm feeling, because you don't know. And I used to get frustrated because I would think like, ladies, yeah, we think like our man's supposed to know. No, they don't. They won't know. And I'll vice versa. I don't know what's on your mind. So that's a really good one to debunk. I don't even know if I want to touch on the unequally yoked thing. Even know, because I'm still asking God about the unequally yoked thing. I mean, the only thing I can say about that, I know a lot of women are trying to figure out, can I marry outside of my religion? Can we be unequally yoked? Is it okay? I say, like I always say, go to God for everything. The unequally yoked thing, for me, I feel like everything still works out for good, because God loves us. But it will work out for good, especially if you have a relationship with God. The answer from me is go to God. But for me, I think it's okay, especially if y'all are already married. And if you get saved and you find Jesus, and your partner is just not trying to hear it, I feel like you should still stick it out, stick it through, show yourself, show what Jesus would do, show love, kindness, compassion, patience. That's what love is. Patience. What do you think patience is? Like, a lot of people just want to leave marriages because they just don't have the patience to stick it through and stick it out. And it's like, love is patient. Do we know the definition of that? We want to say it out loud all the time, but then once the bad times come, then it's me, 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 me. Like, no. So that's kind of my answer with the unequally yoked thing. Oh, no.
Yeah, and it just got on. I mean, kind of on par. And I had some notes on my phone about it. So it's, and for me, when the Bible talks about unequally yoked, people talk about unequally yoked. They're just key things that I feel like within a relationship that you should understand about your partner. And I do honestly feel that spiritual compatibility is probably number one. It's because typically, and it should, your faith should, you know, guide your life. It's just what it is. And if you are trying to become one with somebody who's not spiritually compatible with you, it doesn't sound like it's gonna work. It kind of sounds like oil and water. It's just not gonna mix. There's always going to be a separation there.
Are you talking about dating, or are you talking about marriage?
I'm talking about marriage. And I mean, to be honest, I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but I honestly feel like, you know, dating, as far as dating, you should be dating with some sort of purpose. But again, if you actually dating or and courting somebody, and I think we did talk about this a little bit, you should always have a purpose there. If you just seeing somebody and you just trying to have sex, that is what it is, and okay, you ain't gonna call that dating, really. It's just y'all get together. Y'all might go eat before you do, but hey, it ain't really dating. That's
Well,
unless.
what about marriage though?
So yeah, as far as marriage goes, it's just
Unequally yoked.
the same thing. Again, spiritually compatibility, I think, is just number one. Because some people have this notion that there's always going to be this 50-50 thing, and sometimes it's just not.
Is that another debunk?
It's just not a fit. It's not a 50-50. Sometimes it could be a 60-40. Sometimes it could be a 70-30. Hell, sometimes it might be a 90-10.
And sometimes you
And
need to be that 80.
yeah,
And
you might be the 80-20.
sometimes.
It might be 99-1. Hell, you don't,
Sometimes,
because
yeah.
that person, you make your spouse maybe at the lowest low. They and it is for you, because you are their rock, because you are their spouse, because you are one with them. It's for you to help bring them back up. Because for whatever reason, however they got down there to their lowest low, they could be out there on crack. They could be out there, you know, selling ass. They could be doing whatever, but they could just be in a season for whatever reason, and it's up to you to try to figure out how did that happen on your watch. Hell, you their spouse. What happened?
Yo, why?
Like what was going on where it happened? Like what? Like it just. I'm sure it didn't just happen overnight. They ain't just get up and just start doing crack. I'm sure it didn't happen like that. I mean,
Well, that is how it happens, though.
No, nobody just don't get up and start doing crack.
Yes, it is.
It's something.
One day you didn't do crack, but the very next day you did crack. So yes.
So
that's how it
the
happens.
idea of doing crack didn't just come to you overnight. More than likely, something that's probably been bothering you. It's probably you looking to be numb. Number one, you probably started doing some other type of drug. You probably started popping pills or smoking weed, doing whatever, drinking too much. It's more than likely, I guarantee it, that more than 90% of the time, things just don't happen out of nowhere. It just don't. That's just not how people work. People just don't. Even if people say sometimes, "Oh, he just snapped," or "Oh, she just snapped," and they may have got pushed over the edge one day, but this was a process.
The breaking part, yeah.
It was a breaking point for a process
Yeah.
that happened. This wasn't just so. Now you as a spouse, sometimes you got to look in the mirror and say, "Well, you know, what could I have done to prevent this? What could I have done to help this situation?" And do that. That's what therapy is for. That's what all that is for, to kind of figure that out. Not saying now. That's not to say that you should blame yourself, because that
Jesus.
person is still responsible for themselves. Your spouse is still responsible for their self. So if they're at a point where they are is 99-1, and you got to be the 99, you got to bring them up. Ultimately, they're going to be responsible for getting themselves back up. You can't do it for them, but at the same time, you got you when you're in a marriage, when you're in a relationship, period, but definitely a marriage, you have to do a little bit of self-checking when you got something to say about your spouse.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, yeah, the whole idea of I can only hold up, 50% of this relationship. I can't do it all by myself. True enough, you cannot do it all by yourself, but you might have to do 99. And if all that person got is 1%, it's just because they look at you and they still have love for you, but they ain't got nothing else to offer. That just may be your season, and you got to figure that out. You got to work through it, because I'm pretty sure you didn't go into marriage 99-1. I'm pretty sure you probably didn't even go into marriage. You probably, at most, you might have went in at 60-40, maybe 70-30, whatever. But it wasn't that bad. But they may have gotten to that point where it may be emotionally, it may be mentally, it may be financially, it may be sexually. That happens. Just couples, go through, sex drives change, all kinds of stuff. And so you have to try and figure out what is it that you can do to help your spouse. So
And these are all in vows too, so it's a shame that we gotta reiterate.
Yeah.
To that point, yes, that is so true. But also the good news about that is you don't have to go through it alone. You have a Father and a Lord and a Savior that gives you the strength that only He can provide for you. So nothing that we go through, we're not going to be able to handle. We can handle it all. So don't let the enemy come to you and say, "Oh, you can't do this. You can't handle this." Like, why do y'all think y'all have those negative thoughts in y'all head in the first place? Because you can do it. Because you can do it. You know, come against it. But yeah, the other marriage myth I want to say is the list. They gotta have this. They gotta have that. And da 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 da. Or even if that list, if everything was checked off and then you get into the marriage and then you find out it ain't. No matter, you're in there. You're stuck. But I think with those is sometimes, number one, no one's perfect. Number two, our list can change, whatever the freak the list is, and people and things can change, and we grow. Like, this is forever, eternity that you're signing up for. So things aren't gonna stay the same. Now, I've heard some people say, what was it? Was it April? Said that her husband likes stuff the same way, and it's been the same since the beginning of time. He don't change. On the radio. For some people, that's the case, but for others, that's not the case. So I think with the list is so many people can change and things could change and be different, and you have to learn to adapt to it and to figure them out again and make it fun. Date again, figure it out again. But yeah, no one's gonna check everything off of the list. It's just unrealistic. And don't leave just because everything's not picture perfect anymore.
And yeah, because, you know, to that point, sometimes, especially when you get into lists and things like that, what's important today may not be important tomorrow. And you sit here making a list based on today. Today, it could have been hot, sunny outside, it's smuggy, whatever. So the attire that you wore today won't be important tomorrow if it's rainy. It's a little cooler. It ain't no sun out. Because yesterday you couldn't live without your sunglasses. You couldn't live without. You was outside all day. The sun was
hold on, are you reading me?
Your sunglasses was so important to you. You had to have your big hat on and cover your dome. And it was important because it was sunny outside. Now that it's raining, you can wear a cap. You don't need no sunglasses.
Raincoat.
You got a raincoat. You wouldn't dare wear a raincoat the day before because it was hot. So it's the same thing. What's important to me today, as I approach 38 years of age, wasn't important when I was 28. Dang sure wasn't important when I was 18. So I can tell you that right now. It ain't physically and feasibly. When I was 18 years old, there's not a whole lot that was important to me. Now, values, core values, spiritual belief, things like that, those things typically don't change all that much throughout life because those are things, a lot of times, it's instilled with you in childhood, unless you got to instill some toxic things that you got to break, which could be the case. But if they're good things, typically they don't go nowhere, or at least if you feel like they're good things, they typically don't go nowhere. But like I said, the the type of money, the job that you want to have, the house that you want to live in, where you want to stay, when you want to go here, where you want to go, who you do this with, who you want to. The people that I knew when I talked to when I was 18, maybe I probably can pick up the phone and call outside of family, maybe two people that I thought was the world at 18. Mm-hmm. If I called them right now, I can guarantee you they won't answer the phone. Unless, like I said, maybe one, maybe two people that I can pick up my phone right now and still talk to those same people again outside of family and everything. But because again, family a lot of times that ain't gonna change. You might fall out with them, you might hate them for a little while. But you gonna come back to them. They're your family. You connected with them in some capacity. But yeah, that list that you create today probably ain't gonna be important tomorrow. Probably ain't gonna be important in 5 years. So you go into a marriage with this list, and like you said, to that point, it checked everything. But then now that you 48, 55, even 30, because if you got married early and you got married, you was 20, 21, 22, something like that. By the time you get 30, you realize that list wasn't all that important. But you base this whole marriage, the beginning of this marriage, off of that list. So you kind of set yourself up. So definitely, the list is probably not that important. Again, you try to, I feel anyway. Again, you try to find your spouse based on some of those core values. How compatible are y'all there? Again, I ain't saying that you should agree on every little single thing, but there are things that they're just things that you know about yourself that are non-negotiables. You know you're not about to sit there and lay next to no devil worshiper if you're a Christian. That's just, or even, and I know that's extreme, but even a Muslim, like, you don't understand that person. It's just not, it doesn't, the things that they have to do and they do for their spiritual belief, you probably won't understand. And then that at some point it's going to create a conflict, because then if y'all go into a marriage and you are a new age Christian and you believe in this, and that, and the third, and he is a Muslim that feel like women should maybe stand to the back and this and that, how you going a good marriage is supposed to be easy.
Jesus, I thought I was going to escape this topic, but it looks like I'm not going to escape this topic.
So first off, what is a good marriage?
I'm about to get canceled again.
I don't even understand what was you gonna say? Because
I agree.
You agree with what?
With that statement.
A good marriage is easy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I agree with that there.
So
now, are you confusing that with perfect?
So that's I'm about to say let's define good. Let's define good, because I think that's the operative word here. It's a good marriage. So to your point, a good marriage don't mean it's perfect. So what is a good marriage? When you think of a good marriage, what is good?
Ordained by God, and you guys are letting God lead you. That's a good marriage. Period. Pooh. Because joy comes from the Lord. Period. Like, no one can steal, and joy and happiness is two different things, but nothing or no one can steal your joy and your happiness. So when y'all are just deep rooted in God, all the fiery darts, because it's going to be some darts,
yes,
and it's going to be hard times, but y'all know what to do. Y'all know how to overcome them, and y'all are going to come out stronger, because that's what the Bible says. It says if you do not lose heart, if you keep going, if you do not quit, you will reap the reward.
So good.
I'm kind of twisting it
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
it fit.
Because
But that's
good,
how
because
I always felt like marriage is supposed to be easy
so
in a sense. Not the easy word, the American word easy, but happy, good, joyous. Will you have trials? Yes. Will you have
Yes.
times where you
So
don't like each other? Yes. But I feel like it shouldn't be, like you said, it shouldn't even be days like that.
So that again,
I
though,
agree with the statement.
those words have to be defined. They have to be defined
Well,
carefully.
the definition is different for each person too, though.
And that's the thing. So that's where
Threesomes every Friday and doing edibles could be a good marriage to a couple right now.
okay. That's
I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Because everyone has different definitions. What me and your definition of good and easy is not everyone's definition.
exactly. So that's to that point.
What was the statement again?
A good marriage is supposed to be easy. So to that point, when you define what is good and then you define what is easy, that changes everything. I think, I say it all the time. Perception is reality. If I perceive something to be good for the moment, then if everything is happy-go-lucky, if you want to say, then yes, it is easy. But for me, easy means that it's, for the most part, everything is figured out. You just kind of just go through the situation again, happy-go-lucky. That's easy for me. It's like, it's almost kind of like you doing your job. It's an autopilot thing a lot of time on most days, but everything is going to have its ups and downs. Life is going to have its ups and downs. Every single thing in life, there is almost nothing in life that is consistent. There's almost nothing in life besides God's love that's consistent. There's nothing consistent on earth. There's nothing flat on earth. Even if it looks flat, it ain't that way. So to say it's easy and to make that synonymous with good, like I said, it's a little misleading, because to your point, you just said what you feel. It makes it make what the definition of good and easy. I don't think that's how everybody feel. I think for the most part, the ideal of it is when people hear, well, in order for my marriage to be good, then I must be happy go lucky all the time. I just must be smiling all the time. To your point, it shouldn't be no moments where we arguing. It shouldn't be no moments where we have a disagreement. It shouldn't be no moments where we have these downs. We should always be up, and that's a good marriage. And that's just, again, to your point, I think good becomes almost synonymous with perfect. If you really truly love this person and this is your one for the rest of your life, you should, for the most part, you should be willing to do it. And if you got God, and if y'all got God, especially, you're going to know how to do it. It's going to be understandable. So doable and understandable, I think, is what we're looking for. To your point, anything that is led by God, you should be able to do it. Shouldn't be a situation where you be like, you just sit there like, all right, bro, like again, if you go up put me try to teach a dang calculus class or something like that. I don't know how to do that. It's been dang 15 years since I've been in a calculus class, maybe longer than that or whatever. I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. I'm not that great at math like that. I mean, I'm good at regular arithmetic, but you start talking about, too many letters and stuff, I can't do that. So now for somebody that is probably easy, but that ain't easy for me. So, but like I said, if it's doable and you can understand why things are happening the way they're happening, like you just said, you've been attacked by the devil, or if your relationship is being attacked or whatever it may be, you understand why. You understand that because you understand that there is a Satan in hell that doesn't want to see you happy. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to know that these are things that are going to come and what you have to do to be able to break through it.
Sums it up. Well, thank you guys for watching another episode of Marriage Mondays. This was a great episode, and I hope y'all got something over it. So, in sum it up, just go to God, and He will guide and direct your paths. All right, guys. Bye.